Well, today, President Biden will wrap up his visit to Vietnam. The trip is part of an effort to deepen ties with the country as part of efforts to reduce America's reliance on China. We're going to get into this. We're joined by NBC News senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. She's on the ground in Vietnam. Hey, Kelly, good morning. So this was just a quick weekend trip, but it's one the White House does see as very important. During the visit, the U.S. was lifted to Hanoi's highest diplomatic status alongside, though, China and Russia. What can you tell us about the visit, what that means, what this ultimately is for the administration?
It is a significant trip, and regardless of the time of the week and how much time the president had on the ground, this was a significant relationship-building opportunity for the U.S. and Vietnam. Vietnam elevating the United States to its highest level of diplomatic relationship, and those sort of grades on the scale are quite important in moving the two nations forward. It is a hedge against China, certainly, but it is also about the economic relationships between the United States and Vietnam, where there's a lot of investment that's taking place, the president meeting with business leaders, and the opportunities, especially in the tech field, to try to expand this kind of partnership. The president was certainly noting how decades have changed the relationship between the United States and Vietnam, once at war and now partners and friends at a new level. Here's what the president said earlier.
This trip has been a historic moment. Today, we can trace 50-year arc of progress in the relationship between our nations, from conflict to normalization. This is a new elevated status that will be a force for prosperity and security in one of the most consequential regions in the world.
And, of course, Vietnam uses China as an important trading partner, so their relationship can be complicated as well. And for the U.S., it's really about trying to build strength in this part of the world as an offset to China, but also for these individual relationships on their own merits, and on the potential for economic growth. Savannah?
Yeah, Kelly, I think that's such a good way to put it. It is kind of about that offset, but also about the relationships. That being said, the president has insisted that this visit there was not about trying to contain China, or at least that wasn't the only focus. What has the reaction, though, been from Beijing?
Well, one of the things that's been so important to watch about this is because China's president did not go to the G20, which is where the president began with his multi-day, multi-continent trip. And that absence allowed for a lot of conversation about China. The president was asked a number of questions about this. It is a complex relationship, one where there are economic ties, but also real concerns about the military muscle China is showing and some of the unpredictable characteristics of the relationship, not only with the United States, but with other significant partners around the world. The president was careful, wanting very much to have follow-up conversations with Xi Jinping, who he has not spoken to in nearly a year. And the president was also trying to be careful to say what he is not trying to do with respect to China. Here's his response on that.
I am sincere about getting the relationship right. And one of the things that is going on now is China's beginning to change some of the rules of the game in terms of trade and other issues. But as I said, we're not looking to hurt China, sincerely. We're all better off if China does well.
And that gives you a sense of how the president is trying to find that balance, to not say anything that would be overtly provocative to China, to try to explain some of the nuances of this relationship, and at the same time build alliances that give strength for the U.S. when it comes to the juxtaposition of these two superpowers, the United States and China. Also, while the president was here in Hanoi, he made a personal stop to a memorial site that honors the late Senator John McCain, who was shot down as a Navy pilot generations ago, spent 5.5 years in a prison here as a prisoner of war. He was accompanied by John Kerry, who, of course, is a climate envoy, but was a part of that friendship when all of them were in the Senate. Savannah?
Absolutely. Kelly, before I let you go, I do want to switch gears off the president to something in the region. So North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is expected to travel to Russia to discuss supplying Russia with weapons for its ongoing war in Ukraine. Put in context how much of a concern that is. What can you tell us about that visit?
Well, it is a concern for the United States because, of course, Russia has limited places it can go to try to look for additional support. And North Korea has been such an unstable actor in all of these situations. And so the president was asked a question about this. He did not directly respond to it. There are concerns about what it could mean, but certainly the United States feels that it shows how further isolated Russia is by the fact that all of the kind of economic sanctions that have been used have put pressure on Russia. During the G20 in India, there was a joint agreement from the nations gathered there. Of course, Russia is a part of the G20, so is China. And it was not perhaps as strong as some would have liked, but it was a condemnation in a sense of the reach of Russia trying to obtain power and physical territory from Ukraine. Many felt it could have gone further, but it was a statement nonetheless. Savannah?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell, thank you so much. Safe travels.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.